Hi, my name is Valerie. I'm a registered nurse and a health educator. My goal here is to break down the most important and up-to-date scientific evidence in health and prevention and present it in a way that is clear, accurate, and free from hype. In this video, I will be talking about everything you need to know about the 2025 flu season, which is already raising some concern among public health officials due to a fast-moving strain known as subclade K. This is a variant that has mutated away a bit from the strain used in this year's flu shot, and it has already been found in more than half of the H3N2 flu samples in the United States. Now, this does not mean that anyone needs to panic, but by understanding some of the science behind this, you may be able to better protect yourself and the ones you love this flu season. So in this video, I will be explaining what this variant is and what the evidence actually says about how well the current flu vaccine might still work. I will also be sharing some practical, science-based ways to protect you and your family, and especially those at higher risk. First, let me take a minute to explain what all these numbers and letters mean when we are talking about influenza viruses. And just in case you don't know, flu is short for influenza, and you will hear me using those two words interchangeably. When we talk about the flu, we are really talking about several different viruses. Influenza viruses are divided into four main types: type A, B, C, and D. But only types A and B cause seasonal epidemics in humans. Influenza A is the more common and typically more severe type. It mutates faster and is the type most responsible for widespread flu outbreaks and pandemics. Influenza B changes more slowly and usually causes less severe illness, although it can still make people quite sick. Within influenza A, the viruses are further broken down into subtypes based on two surface proteins: hemagglutinin, which is identified as H, and neuraminidase, which is identified as N. That is where we get names like H1N1 and H3N2. These proteins help the virus enter and exit human cells, and small changes in them can make a big difference in how easily the virus spreads and how well our immune systems recognize it. This year, the H3N2 subtype is emerging as the most prevalent. More specifically, a new subclade of H3N2 called subclade K has emerged and is spreading quickly. A subclade refers to a smaller genetic branch of a virus strain that has accumulated enough mutations to make it distinct from others in its group. This subclade was first spotted during the Southern Hemisphere's flu season earlier this year, where it quickly became dominant in places like Australia, the UK, and Japan. And now it has been identified in over half of the H3N2 samples collected in the United States. This is important because every year, scientists make an educated guess about which strains of influenza A and B will circulate most widely, and they build those into the flu shot for that year. But the vaccine strain for H3N2 this year does not perfectly match subclade K. This is what is known as a mismatch. This does not mean that the vaccine is useless, but it might not offer as much protection as it would against a better matched strain. When there is a mismatch like this, it means that our immune system might not recognize the virus as effectively, especially if we have not had a similar strain recently. That is because our immune systems have never seen anything like this particular virus. This gives the virus more opportunity to spread through communities, and that is what public health experts are worried about. So the concern this year is not that the virus itself is more dangerous. It is that more people might get infected because their immune systems are not as well prepared. And when a large number of people get infected, the total number of severe cases, hospitalizations, and complications tend to go up, even if the individual risk has not changed. This is what makes subclade K worth paying attention to. And again, this is not a cause for panic, but it is a good reason to stay informed and take some extra steps to protect yourself and those around you. Because if there is more flu in your community, it is more likely that it'll get you. When people hear that the flu shot might not be a perfect match, I often get the question, should I even bother getting it? And the answer, from not only from myself, but from public health experts and infectious disease specialists, is a strong yes. And here is why. Even when the flu vaccine is not an exact match, it can still offer meaningful protection. The flu shot stimulates your immune system to produce antibodies not just against a single strain, but also against those closely related to it. That means that there is often some degree of cross protection, especially if the mismatch is not too severe. In the case of this H3N2 subclade K, the virus has drifted from the vaccine strain, but it has not completely escaped. While the match is not ideal, our immune systems can still mount a faster and more effective response if we have been vaccinated. This is because the vaccine helps train your immune system in advance. It introduces parts of the virus, like, for example, those surface proteins that I talked about, the H and the N, so your body can recognize similar structures more quickly. Even if the virus has changed somewhat, your immune system will not be starting from scratch. And that head start can limit how much the virus multiplies and how sick you can get. That faster response can mean fewer symptoms, a shorter illness, and less chance of complications like pneumonia or needing to be hospitalized. This partial protection matters, especially for groups at higher risk, like older adults, young children, those who are pregnant, and people with chronic health conditions. In fact, during previous years when there was a mismatch, studies showed that vaccinated people were still significantly less likely to experience severe illness. The vaccine helped blunt the worst outcomes, even when it was not a perfect match. It's also worth noting that this year's flu shot includes protection against multiple strains, not just H3N2, but also H1N1 and two different lineages of influenza B. These components might be well matched, so you could still be getting fully protected against other flu viruses that could still be circulating. Another benefit of vaccination is that it may reduce how much virus you shed if you do get sick. That means that even if you catch the flu, you are less likely to pass it on to others. In that way, the flu shot protects not just you, but everyone around you. Vaccination also supports herd immunity. When a large portion of the population is vaccinated, the virus hits more roadblocks and spreads less efficiently. That is especially important for protecting those who are immunocompromised or don't respond strongly to vaccines. So while the H3N2 component might not be a perfect match, the flu shot remains one of the most effective tools we have to reduce illness, protect communities, and take pressure off of hospitals. Understanding how the flu spreads is a big part of preventing it. The flu virus spreads primarily through respiratory droplets. When someone who is infected coughs, sneezes, or even just talks, they release tiny droplets into the air that can carry the virus. If those droplets land in someone else's mouth, nose, or eyes, that person can become infected. I know it sounds gross, doesn't it? But this is how it spreads and is why the flu spreads so easily in close quarters like households, schools, and workplaces. The flu can also spread through smaller aerosol particles that stay suspended in the air for longer, especially in poorly ventilated indoor spaces. These tiny particles can travel beyond 6 feet and may be inhaled deep into the lungs, making them an important mode of transmission, especially in enclosed environments. Surface transmission is also possible. The virus can survive on hard surfaces like doorknobs, light switches, or phones for hours, sometimes even longer under the right conditions. If you touch a contaminated surface and then touch your face, especially your eyes, your nose, or your mouth, you could introduce the virus to your body without even realizing it. And one tricky thing about the flu is that people can spread it before they even realize that they are sick. Most people are contagious about 1 day before symptoms begin and up to 5 to 7 days after becoming ill. That means that someone can feel fine and still pass the virus to others without even knowing it. And not everyone who gets the flu has those full-blown symptoms that it is known so well for. Some people may only experience some mild fatigue or a scratchy throat and still be contagious. Others might assume that it is just allergies or a cold and continue their normal routines. And of course, some people do feel the need to just tough it out and go about their daily routine despite having significant symptoms. This is all part of why flu spreads so quickly through communities, especially early in the season when vigilance is low. I'd also like to mention that flu spreads more easily in cold, dry air. During the winter, people spend more time indoors with closed windows and artificial heating, which lowers humidity. Dry air allows respiratory droplets to stay airborne for longer and can also dry out our nasal passages, making it easier for viruses to enter the body. So while flu may seem like an old familiar virus, its transmission is both sneaky and highly efficient. Understanding how it spreads is the first step in taking meaningful action to protect yourself and others. While vaccination is the most effective tool that we have against the flu, it is not the only one. Think of the flu shot as a strong first layer of defense, but not a complete shield. That is why layering multiple strategies is key to reducing your risk, especially in a season where the vaccine may not be a perfect match. Hand hygiene is one of the simplest and most effective prevention tools. Wash your hands regularly with soap and water for at least 20 seconds, especially after being in public spaces or touching shared surfaces. If soap and water are not readily available, hand sanitizer with at least 60% alcohol is a good alternative. You may even want to consider carrying a bottle with you when the flu is prevalent in your area. Clean hands can interrupt one of the main routes of flu transmission, from contaminated surfaces to your face. Wearing a mask in crowded or poorly ventilated indoor spaces can also reduce your risk. Masks can help block both droplets and aerosols, especially when worn correctly over the nose and mouth. Even though masking is no longer a widespread recommendation for the general public, and for some reason has become political, it is still a valuable tool, particularly if flu activity is high in your area or if you are around people who are vulnerable, or if you just have a high desire to not become sick for whatever reason. Improving ventilation is another way to lower risk. If you are indoors, try to open windows or use air purifiers when possible. Good airflow can help dilute any viral particles that may be lingering in the air, especially in spaces with lots of people. Avoiding close contact with people who are sick or staying home yourself when you're not feeling well can help break chains of transmission. This can be challenging, especially with work or family obligations, but it does make a significant difference in limiting spread. Together, these strategies form what is often called the Swiss cheese model of prevention. Each separate measure has its gaps, like holes in a slice of Swiss cheese, but when they are layered together, they cover for each other's weaknesses. No single intervention is perfect, but combining them can significantly reduce your overall risk. And it is all about reducing risk because it is near impossible to eliminate it altogether. Taking these additional precautions is especially important if you are caring for someone who's at high risk, like an older adult or someone with a chronic illness. Even small efforts like improving indoor air quality or staying home at the first sign of symptoms can have a big ripple effect. Beyond vaccines and prevention strategies, one of the best ways to support your body during flu season is by taking care of your immune system. While no supplement or superfood can boost immunity overnight, consistent evidence based habits can improve your body's ability to fight off infections and recover more quickly if you do get sick. Let's start with sleep. Your immune system is deeply connected to your sleep cycle. Adults should aim for 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep per night. During sleep, your body produces and releases cytokines, proteins that help regulate your immune response. Chronic sleep deprivation has been linked to higher susceptibility to viral infections, including the flu. So, good sleep becomes even more important during cold and flu season. Nutrition also plays a key role. A balanced diet that includes plenty of fruits and vegetables provides essential vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. Vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc are all nutrients that support immune function. You don't need mega doses, just regular varied intake from whole foods like citrus fruits, leafy greens, nuts, seeds, and fatty fish. And if you are at a risk of deficiency of vitamin D during winter months, and many people living at northern latitudes are, your healthcare provider may recommend a supplement. Exercise can also help. Regular, moderate physical activity like walking, swimming, or cycling can help circulate immune cells more effectively and reduce inflammation. On the other hand, intense or excessive training without enough recovery time can have the opposite effect. So, balance is key. So, if you do have a big active day during the winter, make sure to give your body time to recover. And you don't have to go all out when you do exercise. Even just 20 to 30 minutes a day of movement has measurable benefits for immune health and overall well being. Managing stress is often overlooked, but also very important. Chronic stress can suppress the immune system by increasing levels of cortisol, a hormone that in excess can reduce your body's ability to fight infections. Mind body practices like yoga, meditation, deep breathing, or simply taking regular breaks and downtime can make a measurable difference. I know that you cannot eliminate all stress, but you can find ways to reset your nervous system and avoid staying in a chronic fight or flight state. Avoiding smoking and limiting alcohol intake also support immune health. Tobacco smoke harms the respiratory tract, making it easier for viruses to take hold. And excessive alcohol can impair the function of immune cells in the lungs and gut, which are two key sites where your body defends against germs. Finally, staying well hydrated is also very important. So make sure you get that water in, which we all seem to drink less of in the winter. Warm beverages like herbal tea can help you get those fluids in when the temperature drops. Some people are more vulnerable to severe complications from the flu than others. And while the general prevention strategies we have already covered are helpful for everyone, they become especially critical for those at higher risk. Older adults, especially those over 65, are at the top of the high risk list. As we age, our immune systems naturally become less effective. This makes it harder to mount a strong defense against viral infections like the flu. Even a relatively mild case can quickly advance to complications such as pneumonia. Any viral infection can also worsen existing health conditions like heart failure or COPD. Young children, particularly those under 5, and especially those under age 2, are also highly vulnerable. Their immune systems are still developing, and they may not have had previous exposure to similar flu strains. And this leaves them more susceptible to severe illness. Those who are pregnant are another group that deserves special attention. Pregnancy causes natural changes to the immune system, heart, and lungs that can increase the risk of flu complications. The flu can also pose risks to the developing baby, including preterm birth and low birth weight. The flu shot is safe during any trimester and has the added benefit of providing some immunity to newborns in the first few months of life. People with chronic health conditions like asthma, diabetes, obesity, kidney disease, or weakened immune systems due to cancer treatment or autoimmune disorders also face higher risks. Their body may not respond as robustly to infections or vaccines, and complications can escalate quickly. Caregivers and close contacts of high risk people should also take precautions. If you live with or care or work with someone in one of these groups, getting vaccinated yourself, practicing good hygiene, and avoiding exposure when you are unwell can make a real difference in protecting them. There is also an option for older adults to receive a high dose or adjuvanted flu vaccine, which can produce a stronger immune response. These versions are recommended for people over 65 and are widely available at pharmacies and flu clinics. For those in high-risk groups, flu season can feel more stressful, but with the right strategies like vaccination, layered protection, and early attention to symptoms, it is possible to reduce the risk significantly and face the season with greater confidence and peace of mind. The 2025 flu season is shaping up to be different, not necessarily more dangerous on an individual level, but potentially more disruptive due to how this year's dominant strain, the H3N2 subclade K, has evolved. It is spreading quickly and does not match the current vaccine perfectly, which could lead to more infections and more pressure on hospitals and healthcare systems. While we cannot control how the virus mutates or spreads globally, we can control how we respond on a personal and community level. That response can make a meaningful difference in how the season plays out for each one of us. If you would like a summary of what I talked about in this video, you can find a simple, easy-to-read summary in my Patreon. I will put the link to that in the video description. If you have found this information helpful, please consider sharing it with someone you care about or someone that it might help. Flu prevention is more than just a personal act. It is a community effort. The more informed and proactive we are, the better chance we all have at getting through the season with fewer disruptions and better overall health. If you would like to keep learning about science-based ways to protect your health, make sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel. I will be back soon with more content to keep you informed so that you can live a healthier, longer life. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, please take good care of yourself.